Hi, I'm Achila, the X engineer at CrabNebula, and today I'm here to work with you on the third challenge of our Capture the Flag. If you have no clue what we're talking about, the whole playlist is in the description below. So I do recommend you to do the first two challenges before getting to this because they ramp up in difficulty and the whole context is nice for you to have. Also, there's a prize if you submit your whole solution. Check the link in the description below to know how to fork the repository and submit your work. So this is the last warning before you jump into the code. We're doing challenge number 3, and I strongly recommend you to try and do it before. But without further ado, let's get hacking. So now we're ready to get started. I have my IDE open, I popped up the terminal, and I changed directory into Space Navigator challenge number 3. And while you're at the code base, please resist the urge of checking the internal. This is going to have the solution and we don't want to spoil the game. So with that done, you should probably have npm install run already. And I'm going to pop up the app and get it running. Now that we have our app here, in the same way as the previous challenges, we have the 3 tabs. The about is going to have the whole context of the challenge, while the challenge is for us to check our solution, and solution is for us to submit whenever we have the answer. So let's get back to about. So to summarize, this challenge says we need to input these coordinates into the program. And we need to figure out, based on this particular config, what can we exploit, because we don't have access to the method to update it. The UI is broken. And so look at that. We have our first little hint is that the scope is allowed to write the file in that specific file, and it says earth.coord, which suggests it's the coordinates for Earth. So that's where we need to add our array of coordinates. So we know what the coordinates are. We know where they need to be. Now we need to find out how to write it. And what the challenge is saying is that there is an internal method called write text file, and would be perfect, but it's not exposed to us. So we cannot figure out how to call it directly. Though it's using the write file method, and the challenge is bringing us the code for the internal API. So we know what params it takes and what it needs to have. Additionally, there's also a log for another internal request, and here's another hint. There's this window.tar_invoke, which means we have something exposed for us. This is in the window object, which is globally accessible in the JavaScript scope. And with a few params, we can actually call an internal Tari module. In this case, this log is calling shell. We need to call the fs, but it seems that in the message, it's pointing out which params it takes. As you can see, there's even the path, which is probably similar to what the path buff is for us, but then we can work it out. So let's pop up the console and figure out what we need to do. So the first thing is we want to use the window object, and we want this Tari invoke thing. And the first parameter is going to be Tari, while internally we have this Tari module, so double underscore Tari module, and we, instead of shell, we want to call the fs method. And the second parameter is supposed to be the message. Now, the message is going to take the command, which is which command we want to use, and we want to use the write file because that's what we're going to do. We're going to write to that file we have. And now we need the path to that file, which is, at this point, we have this path over here. And here's the first thing we need to be mindful of, is that we have this $resource sign, which is an internal shortcut alias that Tari has. I don't know if it's going to work like that, but let's keep going and stop wherever we get stuck. The second part is going to be the contents. So which content we want to write, and that's this little array that we have here with our coordinates. So the contents is going to be the array. Finally, there is a third one that's options. And the options have a file operation options, and I don't really know what that is, but we have a link for the docs. Bring the docs over here. We have the docs and we get the Tari apps API docs. We have the file system module over here. And where can we find the options? FS options, sounds like it. The FS options has two props. The append, which whether the content should overwrite the content of the file or append to it. Okay, cool. I don't know if that makes a difference. We're gonna try with the default, and if that's not what's gonna work for us, then we try another option. And then there's the other one is dir, which base directory. So base directory seems to be that $resource. Let's click over and yeah, exactly. So on this scope, we have some namespaces, some aliases for the typical file system path that we have. So we have app cache, yada yada. Yeah, the type. So resource has type 17. So this is little dictionary for us, probably useful, which means that back to our command in the options, we can then pass the object that we need, and we're gonna pass the dir as the object, and we pass 17. Cool, that sounds about right. Fingers crossed. Process pending, promise rejection, path not allowed. I passed the directory to the dir and I forgot to remove it over here, because if I'm already passing the base directory, I cannot put the base directory on top of the base directory. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, our promise is pending. It means that it ran. So back to our app, we open the challenge and let's see if we wrote it there. Oops, and there we go, our flag. So we copy that flag and into we go. Boom, we're in. Awesome. We captured this last flag. That's amazing. Before leaving you off, let's talk about some mitigation strategies. In this case, it looks like it was not intended for that file to be written at. The developer did not expose the right text file API. So I take that it was an oversight that the scope was left open in the published app. Removing our access to that scope would have prevented any coordinates to be injected the way we just did. So whenever you're shipping a Tari app, make sure to check the scopes and the allow list in the Tari config JSON. I hope you have enjoyed it, and stay tuned. Next part is number 4, and it's gonna drop really soon on this very playlist. Try to solve it on your own first, and let us know how it's going. You can find us in the Tari Discord, at the CrabNebula channel, or on the CrabNebula Discord. But please, no spoilers in public. Until then, bye!